Hey everybody, it's me, Rex the dog. So, I'm somebody who's got taste that goes like all over the place. If you look on this channel and you look at, sort of the topic videos, or you go through the past streams and you look at the type of different games I've been playing, or the movies I talk about, or whatever, is I've got taste that's like all over the place. Like for me, if something, it's just if something's good or if something's got like an interesting perspective or point of view or something like that, then I'm in. I'm about it. I want to participate. I want to see what's going on. I want to see this person's take or this group of creatives take on that topic. And so it's kind of weird for me because as somebody, although I've got my favorites, obviously, like when it comes to video games, I think, JRPGs and platformers and stuff like that hold a sort of special level for me, survival horror games. When it comes to movies, I'm a sucker for like like an indie sort of mumblecore movie, but I love the studio blockbuster when done well. I'm a huge fan of art house horror films, When it comes to music, although I'm like a punk rock kid, I've got my favorites, I've got the punk rock there. I like noise rock. There's, a bunch I like just classic pop as well. I like sort of like female singer-songwriter pop music. So I have my favorites, but, across whatever sort of medium, generally, I'm taking little pieces of the buffet. I'm taking little pieces of the buffet. Like I'm sampling everything, right? So it's kind of weird for me and I'm gonna see if there's other things that this apply to. But one thing this is definitely applied to for a very long period of my life is anime. I've been really, really dismissive of anime, and it's been something that I've criticized a lot without really having sort of sampled a lot or understood a lot. Now, I think one of the reasons for this is kind of the era where I grew up. There wasn't a lot of mainstreamly accessible anime. When I was a kid, you had the 4Kids dubs, so you had stuff like which I enjoy, for what they are. Like, you had like your Pokemon, you had like your Yu-Gi-Oh, you had like your Beyblades, you had like your Metabots, you had your Monster Rancher, you had these sorts of things. Okay, and there's like some other stuff that you'd like, they called them like OVAs, like original video animations. There'd be stuff like that you would kind of, stumble upon, like maybe like Macross or like some Gundam stuff if you're like really looking. You're really, really looking for it, but it's like really not a big thing. Like now anime is just like, it's crazy mainstream, it's super accessible, it's everything. In the way that like most things are accessible now in the kind of like streaming internet age or whatever. But I grew up at the time where like the anime that I saw was just very much just like the shonen aimed at children. And so my assumption is anime is all that, or then I'd see the kind of like shocking stuff that was like just really edgy or like sexualized. I'd see stuff like that being like pushed by people like on like Revision 3 forums of being like, oh yeah, like whatever. But anyway, as a consequence, I think this is something that feeds into it. It's just like a lack of exposure. I was a big hater on anime, like an actual hater as well. I'd make fun of it and I'd be like, oh yeah, this sucks, whatever. While being like a furry and being obsessed with like Sonic the Hedgehog and a bunch of other stuff that you can like, and a huge comic book reader and other stuff that you could equally just like throw that same sort of like lazy rhetoric that I was giving on anime back at it. So I kind of like but there's always like kind of been like, at least in recent years, this like low-key thing of like, oh, I really want to like anime, like I really want to like it because I like liking stuff. I don't want to be a hater, right? It's not my default mode. I do fall into it sometimes, and I don't really like to do that. I do fall in hate mode sometimes, but I like liking things. It's fun to enjoy things. It's fun to be having fun. It's fun to get something out of the art you're enjoying. You know what I mean? That you're in conversation with. It's good to have something coming back to you from it. So I've always kind of low-key wanted to like it for a long time. But I've like held up that front of like, and I guess kind of like stubbornness as well. Like, when you're like, you don't want to admit you're wrong. Just such a bad human trait, right? I think there's also kind of been a stubbornness of me, being, oh, it's actually kind of good, And I don't know what kind of brought this on, but I made this like kind of conscious effort to like, hey, I'm actually gonna try out like I'm gonna give anime like a real go, okay? Instead of just like, I'm gonna stop, watching pro skating competition videos for a while and UFC or whatever, and I'm gonna replace this time with watching anime. And so over the past like year or whatever, like I'm on this like My Anime List website, and there's some stuff that I've put in there like retroactively, right? There's some stuff that I've put in there retroactively, so this is not all exclusively from the past year, but I've logged 4,000 anime episodes on My Anime List now, and I one thing I was doing is I was like going down the popular. I was like, you know what? I want to know what people are talking about, right? So I started working down the popular list, and I've watched like out of the top 20 most popular anime shows, I've watched like 15 of them to completion or whatever. And I was doing a similar thing with top airing as well, because I was like, I want to be like part of the conversation of like ongoing weekly anime as well. So anyways, the consequence of this, I watched like 4,000 episodes of anime. I've watched loads and loads of anime. And it's like, it's at that point you start to, it's kind of interesting. This kind of makes me think of, one thing I also kind of like checking on YouTube is because I like first experiences, right? I like first tries. I like people delving into new worlds. I watched like quite a few of those videos where, it's like an opera singer or a classical composer like listens to like a Slayer album or listens to a Final Fantasy soundtrack or whatever, and you watch these people and immediately like that first reaction to kind of like metal or whatever is just like, oh, this is like just like loud and noise, and it all sounds the same, and then you start to like actually like understand the subtleties and appreciate the subtleties and the direction that exist within that genre as you listen to more and more of it. Now maybe you don't like it, and that's valid. It's valid to like not like something, right? But you can still kind of appreciate the direction it's going to. That was kind of me with anime. I thought it was all the same, but because I hadn't experienced enough of it to notice the subtleties and whatever. And now there you go, the stuff that now that I understand and I still don't like I do not like all this modern isekai stuff, like I don't like it, right? But then there's other stuff where like I've watched enough shonen now to have like a basis where I can go to Hunter x Hunter and then see that's a subversion and be like, oh, this is genius, right? So I don't know, it's cool. It's cool to give something like a proper try. And I'm trying to think if there's more things that I've kind of, they might be so ingrained in me that I don't even realize that I've just got such a bias for, and I'm just like, that thing sucks, that I haven't given enough attention to. Because honestly, like actually giving like the time of day to anime and like making a conceited effort to like understand it and see what's going on, it's been incredibly rewarding. You know what? I might do this with hyperpop. I'm really dismissive of hyperpop. Maybe I'll work to understand hyperpop and then get this cool like appreciation. Because if I like something, that's a win. And if it actually falls into my taste, that's great. But at the very least, there's a journey to kind of like understand it and get the kind of appreciation on that level, even if it's not your cup of tea, because not everything's going to be your cup of tea. But hey, anime, I was wrong. I've done a few anime videos on this YouTube channel. There will be more in the future, but this was more just speaking about my journey of saying like, hey, dude, I was wrong, and learning to appreciate something that is a little bit out of my remit. But it's like I feel excited and happy to talk about like, oh hey, there was something, and then I was wrong and I learned all these new things. That's exciting. That's actually really exciting to me. So I hope I can dig out more things in my brain that I've made, sweeping judgments on, and can kind of like experience and learn to appreciate and educate myself on to try and just expand my horizons. And if I end up liking it as well, if I end up finding another Hunter x Hunter or something like that along the way, then that's just freaking sick.